Hello and welcome to part 3 of the video. Now, in this part we're going to put the gearbox back and make sure it runs, starts and drives. If you want to watch part 1 on how to take the gearbox off, or part 2 on how to center a clutch, they're going to be up there, and this is part 3. Again, what I'm going to do is, this is going to be quite tricky because I'm on my own, so I'm going to try and do this. But before you put the clutch in or put the gearbox back, you want to make sure everything that is hanging out the way, make sure it is out the way, make sure it's not in the way, because it's going to cause problems. We do have a pipe up here which is going to cause us problems, but there's nothing I can do about it, and I have to kind of get the gearbox in and try and lift the pipe over the lip. You'll see it in part 2 of the video, you'll see exactly where it is. It's a stupid place and there's just not a lot I can do about it. So I'm going to try and get this in. The other problem is I could not get this cup out, just couldn't get it out. So I'm going to have to leave it in. Don't want to leave it in, but I've got no choice. That's going to make it even harder for me. And especially now I'm on my own, it's going to make it harder. So let's see what happens. My guess is it's going to be an awful lot of swearing. So a lot of editing for me. First floor, lingerie. Now, this is where I've got to be careful, because I've got to make sure I get this past. So I'm going to slightly angle the gearbox, put up at a slight angle, and then try and twist it. And that should hopefully let me clear this cup, but I don't know if it's going to work. If that cup wasn't there, that would make it so much easier for me, but it is. So there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, we're going to have problems with this. I can see already. We're going to have problems. Nice. Love the taste of muck. It's really nice. Caught up already, which I wasn't expecting that quick. Right. What you can sometimes do is kind of angle the gearbox down or twist it up, just depending, and that'll kind of clear it. There's loads of different ways of doing it. If it wasn't for that cup, this gearbox would be more or less lined up in place now. That's how much grief it's actually causing me. But like I said, there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I did try. But careful, we need to get this in now. Need to clear that clutch. This is not good. Might have to go a slightly different route with this. What I'm thinking now is that ain't gonna work. So what I might do is twist this so the cup is at a 90-degree angle, then try and put it in and twist it down. That's what I'm gonna try, but there's no guarantee that's going to work, but I think it's going to be my best option. So, it's bloody heavy as well. Right, let's see what happens now. And is that going to work? I don't think it is. Well, it slipped. Oh, yeah, bastard. This is the problem now, and I'm in trouble. What a fucking bastard! Ow! What a bastard, that fucking cup. Love to be able to get that cup off. I fucking won. What a nightmare. I've never known this or any of these to be so tight. The way I did it in the end, I got a long, thin screwdriver and I actually hit it through to get it on here. That's the only way that was coming off. That was so tight, it was ridiculous. But it's off, and as you can see, I've got that much more room. The problem was, this was hitting this here, and I needed it out of the way. Now it's out of the way. Yeah, job on. I knew it needs to be out of the way, but I just thought maybe I'd get away with it, but there's just no way of getting away with it. Anyway, this now should go back on. I say should because, well, it should, but that doesn't mean it will. Right, let's try now. What a nightmare. The joys of doing clutches or gearboxes. Now I just need to slightly angle it, kind of so it misses that. There we go. Still going to be awkward, but it should be easier. However we look about it, it should be easier. Now, before I couldn't even get this far because I'll be hitting the cup now. So as you can see already, it's easier. We've just got to make sure we can get this past where we need to be. So I need to be a little bit higher and then hopefully push it in. That's the plan. We are so close. If I could just get it past that, all these wires are now come out of place. Just get it past. Couple of things we could do. We could drop the engine down a little bit more, which might help us, but we are so close. I mean, the tiniest of bits now. This should clear. There we go. I think that's cleared. Certainly done something. There we go. Move the engine. Ha 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 ha. Oh. What a git. Right. We're nowhere. We're not home yet, but we are certainly closer. That cup is out of my way and I just want to throw it as far as I can, but I can't because I'll have to go and get it. And if I have to go and get it, it means I have to walk, and my perfect physique just isn't built for that. It's built for more, 26 miles sprinting, not walking a little bit. Right. What I'm worried about more so than anything is the stupid pipe on top to clear. That's what I'm more concerned about at the minute. Right. We now have to move my stand because my stand is in the wrong place. So let's get that. Oh, quick. Oh God, it's still in the wrong place. I had to move it quickly, but it's still in the wrong place. Right, if I could just move that top pipe, I will be happy. Might be able to do something with this now. I still need to get this. Is in the wrong place. That's not going to help matters. However I look at it. No. Oh, that's heavy. Ugh. I'm now catching the engine. It's the third time I've moved it and I'm catching things every time I move it. It's all because of that stupid pipe at the top. That's what's causing me these problems now. Right, can I move that over, please? Please? Oh, yes. Now, I've moved the pipe over. That's brilliant. That really is potentially has done it for me. Technically, provided there's nothing trapped, should be no reason why I can't get this in, wiggle this in, and I should be able to line it up. Just grab a couple of bolts. Nothing worse than getting it lined up and you haven't got a bolt in your pocket. Sometimes you might have to move the flywheel, and you can just get a bar in there to move the flywheel, just to allow the splines of the gearbox to line up with the spline of the clutch. Sometimes then it just goes in. But this just can take some wiggling. It can just literally slot in, brilliant, but then also it can take a serious bit of wiggling. We'll have to see. We're close. You got to remember there's two little dowels as well we've got to line up. But essentially, it's just a case of wiggling this, and hopefully it goes in. There we go. Oh yes! Please stay up. Ah. Yeah, is it in? I think it is. Sweet! Fucking sweet! Oh, so much easier with two people. But I think that's in. Now, one thing you don't want to do is just start putting bolts in. And do not tighten any bolts up until you got them all in. And that is very important. We can put a bolt in now just to make sure we're not 100% lined in. But we don't want to be tightening anything. I just need to turn it a slight bit from the looks of this, just like that. And I think that is now in. It's not in. It's bloody close. There we go. I think that's slid in. Yeah, that slid in. But the problem is, I'm holding it with my hand. Oh, come on, please. It's heavy. Oh. Whew. Yeah. Now, so much happier now. But what I want to do is just line this gearbox stand up better than what it is, so it's not hitting, it's only hitting the gearbox, just like that. Now, and I've just opened it out, which I shouldn't have done, but we're still in place, which is the most important thing. And we can now essentially start putting all the bolts in. We need to put the correct bolts in too, because if you remember, we have earth cables and stuff like that we need to put in. So you need to do all that now before you forget. It's very easy to forget, and it's bloody annoying. So I'm just putting all the bolts in, just hand tight, until I get them all in. And once I get them all in, then I can worry about tightening them. Even though the gearbox is in, if you try and tighten one bolt, it can just be off a couple of mil and the bolt won't go through. And if you try and force it to, you're going to start stripping threads and doing all sorts of damage. And never ever tighten the gearbox in with the bolt. So what I mean is, if you've got a little bit of a gap and you think, oh, I'll just put the bolt in, screw the bolt and pull it in, don't do that, because something might not be quite lined up and you can just crush everything together and cause, well, just hundreds of pounds worth of damage. So you always need to get the gearbox in, sitting in straight, and that is the key why you need to line up the clutch, because that clutch was lined up perfectly, and as you can see, it went in a lot easier just because of the clutch, really. Right, they're all in a good bit by hand, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to shoot them with the air gun just a little bit, not a lot, but just to get them in a bit more before I go working on the top. This is just the starter motor, so I can actually screw these in, because that's not going to affect the lining up of the gearbox. What is affecting it is the mount here. Now you're going. Need a long reach 13 for that. There we go. Yeah, I'm happy enough with all these bolts now. Just going to hand tight these in a little bit more. Get the awkward one, which is here, which seems to be a bit more open now. So I think I'll get that one from the bottom this time. Having said that, it mostly won't be that easy once. Just bang it in the rest of the way. There's always a chance you could have the problem with the hydraulic slave cylinder for the clutch, but hopefully we won't. But there's always kind of that problem like that. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to tighten anything up yet. I normally would at this stage. At this stage, what I do like to do is get the gearbox mount on so it holds itself, but I can't do that yet because obviously I haven't put the two top bolts in. But not only that, I need to put the gear linkages cables back together. And if you remember from the first part, that was a bit awkward, but I can actually see the top bolt now. So I'm going to put that on. And if you remember, we've got this funny bolt. So we have to screw this in first, then put the bracket over, and then put this bolt to lock the bracket on. I'm sure they could come up with a better system than this. Because even now, even though I can see what I'm doing now, I'm still struggling to move it out of the way enough. In fact, it won't go out the way enough. So what is that hitting? Right, I'm not sure what's going on there. I have to get to the top. What I am going to do is get these gear linkages on, because that's going to save me a lot of work. I say I'm going to get them on. Not looking good. This does not want to go back in. Oh, why don't you want to go back in? Right, I can't show you because it's just in an awkward place. There's no point me filming, but I'm going to try and get them two stupid bolts in there. Once I've done that, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll do the top. I got an absolute bloody nightmare. So we have the two bolts here for the gear linkages. This just means, again, because it's all underneath the actual gearbox mount, so I have to do this first. The other problem I was having, hopefully you can see this is the size of the cup, and as you can see, the gearbox wouldn't have gone past the actual subframe. Now if you took the subframe off, yeah, but taking the subframe off is disconnecting the steering rack, disconnecting pipes, disconnect everything. It's just pointless. You need to get this bloody thing off. So that's why I couldn't get the gearbox in with this on. Once I've tightened up these two, which is 1 and 2, it's a 15mm, by the way, 2 wobbly bars. And that was a 1/4 inch ratchet. They're quite good actually. You can put over 100 foot-pounds of torque on these and they don't break. Right, while I'm here, I can actually put on the bottom gear link cable. That should just literally push in, which it does. Just make sure you can't pull it back out. Right, so all I should have to do now really is put the two top bolts of the gearbox on, and then I can tighten them all. Then we should be able to put the top gear cable on, and then put the gearbox mount on, which will then, you know, it'll be supporting itself. That's what I want to get the gearbox mount on ASAP, because then the engine's supporting itself. It's not being supported by everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down. When I put it down, I'm going to put the jack underneath the gearbox to support the engine while I'm working on the top. So when I've done that, we'll continue. Sorted. Hopefully this just gives you a bit better view. We're right on top of the gearbox. This is going to be our gear linkage cable for the top, and it's just a case of pressing the button down, pressing down till you hear that click, and now that's on. Now it's no harm to actually put the clutch cable on. So what I'm going to do is pull out the little blank that comes on it, push this down into that little holder, and simply push it in there until I hear a click, like that. So that's now clicked in. Just make sure it is clipped in. Release our little pliers. Now, looking quite good. Now, any wires, oh, we're leaking for some reason. We're leaking badly. Why is that? Right, we have a problem. Let's put that back and see what's going on. I'm just wondering now if we've lost the little O-ring on it, which wouldn't be good. And the answer is yes, we are. There's a little O-ring that's not on it now, and it's a special O-ring too. Right on the edge of this is a special O-ring. I don't think it's a normal type of an O-ring. Right, well, do we have another problem? I don't think that should come off, should it? Maybe it should. Right, so that O-ring's either fallen on the floor, or, well, it has to have done. This could be a problem. We'll have to see if I can find it. Now, we had a result. It was actually got left in the old cylinder, which is brilliant. I should have really checked before I put it on, but so as you can see, it's not like a normal O-ring. It's kind of really thick. Not the end of the world. You can obviously get them from the from Ford or whatever happens to be manufacturer, but that should stick on the end like that. Now, theoretically, this should go in, push in till you hear the clip like that. Oh. Also, you need to put this little clip back because otherwise it won't hold itself. So put the clip back first, then clip it in. So you hear the clip. There we go. That's the clip. As you can see, that's really strong, sturdy, and I'm shaking the camera. Now, I should be able to release this and see if it leaks again. There we go. That's released. It's always a good thing to check them before you put them on, just to make sure they're not cracked or anything. Now, you will notice it leaking quite quickly, but still. Right, so I'm going to put, if you remember, we took off this, which is just an overflow breather pipe. It's important that that's there. Clips into this clip down here, and then clips into the one at the bottom, but we'll sort that out when we lift it back up. Now, we've got a couple of, with a speedo cable and a reverse light. So one of them needs to go at the back, and I'm not sure which one does. So a quick look at the plugs. Yeah, this is the back one, so this one can go in now. Just put that down. It's important to remember these because you get in the car and the speedo doesn't work, or the reverse light doesn't come on and stuff like that. So they're annoying, but they have to be on. So just put that one down there for the minute. That's for the sensor at the top. Now it's just a case of putting the two top bolts on, and then I can actually put this engine mount on, or the gearbox mount on, and then I can remove all the supports I've got on the engine. These are going to be quite tricky to put on, and I've no, just going to have to do it by feel. It's stupid, it really is. Right, I'm not going to be able to do this on camera because there's just no room. I can't even see myself. Once I've got these bolts on, I'm just going to tighten them all up. Once I've tightened them all up properly, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll continue. What I'm going to do now, before I get too carried away and putting everything back together, is I really want to check the clutch, because there can always be a problem with these. So I want to bleed it. And they're quite easy to bleed on these. You just got this. This is where the fluid comes in. So this is what we just clipped in. And all you do, you have your bleed nipple here, and you turn it like 90 degrees, and you'll start seeing bubbles and air come out. So I'm going to gravity bleed it first. Just going to pull off the yellow cap. I'm going to turn it, and hopefully we should see fluid bubbles coming out. As we can see, hopefully you can see that. Get a bit more light. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if that's coming through. It's bubbling, it's still bubbling, and we're getting fluid coming through. So I'm just going to wait till the bubbles to stop, and this will be gravity bled, and then we can kind of bleed it properly. But this should get us, once, there we go. Oh no, we're still going. Be careful we don't go too low on fluid. Just going to stop that and let that build up a little bit. Got a lot of air out. make sure we're not running too low on fluid. So we're going to check the fluid level. So I've just topped it up with brake and clutch fluid. Stop 4, it's what goes in the brake bottle, and it uses the same for the clutch, so it shares the brake bottle with the clutch. So we're just gonna, again, hopefully it's coming through. It's just here where my finger is. You can see it bubbling. It's still bubbling. I really need to get somebody to give me a hand now to bleed it, because my one-man bleeder kit is broke. But there's no one around. Right, so what I've done is I've just wedged, get some more light on there, hopefully that will help. I've just wedged the clutch pedal down with a bar, and hopefully now you should see maybe a bit of pressure coming out. There we go, loads of air came out. Now put that back up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pump the pedal again inside, and what's going to mostly happen now is the pedal's going to go straight to the floor. I'm going to have to lift it up, pump it a few times until I've got a pedal, and maybe do that one more time. But hopefully that noise came out the camera. It might not have done, of all the air coming out. There was loads of air trapped in there, which you would expect. Just going to fill up again with fluid. The bar I've wedged in is basically replacing someone pumping it for me. It's going to work the same, it just takes a bit longer. So this hopefully should be it. I'm going to twist this one more time, and hopefully it should just be fluid that comes out and not air. Right, the last second. Right, a bit more air come out, but a lot more fluid. So one more time, and I think we're done. So this is the last time, and hopefully now we should be okay. Yeah, that was just fluid that time. It's easy to do this now before you put everything back, and the other good thing is just to make sure it is working properly. So I now know it's working. Now we still got to obviously check the gears and everything, but it's not leaking, it's holding pressure, so that's one good thing. So I'm going to pump that, and then we can basically, I think, put the engine mount back on, or the gearbox mount. Now I've got delayed for an hour or two, and I can't remember exactly where I was, but what I'm going to do next, put that underneath there as well. That's not going to be good on top of that. Put that back, just hit that off. What I am going to do is put on the actual engine mount now. I should be able to do that. 3 bolts. At least I can get this supporting its own weight, which is key. Then I can take all the supports off, and it's just a lot better. That one is the longer one, which goes there. So I'm just going to snug them up and tighten them. No point me filming that, because that's just going to be boring. Now we can put this plate back, which holds the mount on. This is just 10 mils. Now I can come with the engine mount, but as we can see, the if the camera's showing this, hopefully it is, the engine mount, the whole engine isn't in the middle of the mount, and it's too low, so we need to jack it up a bit. I'm just jacking up with the jack. Hopefully you saw that bolt rising there, but again, we're still not in the middle. It needs to go over towards the firewall more. But before we do that, we can just shove this back in. Make sure you get it the right way, which is this way, as you can see. So hopefully I can just push that will move as I'm, which it won't. So if I push the engine back as well as holding that in, hopefully not getting away with the camera too. There we go. Now it's actually too high now, the jack, but that's nothing to worry about. I'll just screw this bolt down first, all the way. 22 mil. Tighten it by hand. There we go. And remove this, because we don't need this now. So all I'm doing now is actually removing the engine support that goes across the top of the engine. So I'm just removing that, get that out of the way. It's going to give me a lot more room. And what I can actually do now is just, we'll let the gearbox sit down, and it should rest on this mount, even though I haven't put the bolts on, but the bolts will just stop it lifting up. This is the main bolt here. So let it down. And there we go. The engine and gearbox are now supporting themselves, which is very good. I need to shoot these bolts down for 15 mils, and then we can lift it up and do everything else underneath. Same thing as always, tighten them by hand. Now what I've got to do is put the drive shafts back on. I have, and there's no point in showing it, I've tightened all the bolts up around the gearbox because I put the top two in, which has allowed me to do that. So we can lift it up now and bang the drive shafts in. All the gearbox bolts. We've also put in this gearbox mount. You'll see it on the first part of it. There's no point in me showing you because there's just a couple of bolts. Boring looking at bolts going in. I've done this drive shaft, the far drive shaft. We're going to now put this drive shaft back. Then we can put some oil in the gearbox and start it, and let's see if it actually does do what it needs to do. We need to make sure it goes through all the gears, it's not making any noises and stuff like that. So I've put the cup on the end of the drive shaft, so it's just a case of banging it in. Hopefully it'll go in. If there's anything like coming out, we're going to be in trouble, because I've never known one to be so hard to take out. So I'm hoping it's going to go in kind of easy, but I even can see now that that's not the case. Right, let's see if we can get this in here first. That chopping my finger. Now that's gonna help. Now we are a good bit off getting it in, but see if we can turn it slightly and turn it and go in at the same time. This should just not want to go in. We could be in trouble here now. And you can't hit this with a hammer because you'll break this boot. Not sure what I'm going to do here. There's always something. See if I can even get this bottom ball joint in now. Bottom ball joint going, because we're too far out here. Shit. Oh, hold on. Did that go in? Any closer? No. Went in a little bit, I think. Right. What am I going to do now? I could always take this back off and actually physically hit the cup in place. I just thought it'd be easier doing it this way, but maybe not. This is just turned into a nightmare. Might be able to see if we can shock that in. I'll get the air tools out, spin the wheel and turn at the same time and see. Oh, my light's gonna fall. Don't need that to fall. Move that out of the way for the minute. Hopefully you can still see. That gone in? Oh, what a nightmare. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I don't think it's working. What really do we getting this bottom ball joint in, which we can't because we're just not in enough. Really don't know what's going on here. It's unusual, but it's causing me problems. Oh, we're going in. Yeah, because we're closer with this. So we are going in. Have to keep turning the wheel as I'm going in just to make sure the splines are lining up. Oh, we're so close. Now we're in with the bottom ball joint with a little bit of persuasion. Let's see if I can push the suspension up and maybe the drive shaft's at a funny angle. I've never known one of these to be this difficult to get on. This is just absolute nightmare. Lift up the suspension without lifting up the van to straighten the drive shaft. So hopefully it'll go in. Let's see what happens now. There we go. So you have to be careful doing this because there's a little clip on there, like a little C-clip. And you don't want to force these in because you can break that off and it can damage the gearbox, it can do all sorts. But I've just never known one to be like this. Now I'm constantly spinning this because you have to. That does seem to be going in, so let me get here properly. Right, okay, that's gone in. That was a nightmare. I've never known one to do that. Not be that difficult. It's the worst one I've ever done. And I do not like doing it that way. But the most important thing is it's spinning. I know it's spinning the whole gearbox. It's not binding. We didn't do any damage, so we're all okay, but it's still stupid. 32mm for the drive shaft. And just like I always get, I'm going to get the torque Nazis. Oh, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to torque it down to the manifest specification. Yeah. What them people don't seem to realise is what I'm showing you is actually what happens in garages. No matter what they say, this is what happens. So nobody does it. You don't need to. I will tighten that by hand once I get this down. And the bottom ball joint should be 24mm. Now we might have a problem here. This might spin. So I might have to get that stand back on it to put some pressure on. But hopefully I won't. It's where a powerful air gun comes into play. Let's see what happens. There we go. Wedge screwdriver in there. Let's make sure this is good. It's good. And there we go. Oil next. Now we're ready to put the oil in. So we've got an 8mm Allen key. So we're going to take off the filler bolt. And it's important to get the right oil for your car. Depending on what make and model you've got, you need different oil, different specs of oil, different thicknesses and all sorts. So you need to get the right stuff. And the way I'm going to get it in is with this lovely pump. I've shown it on loads of my videos. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm just going to turn it on and wait for the oil to come out of there, and we know we're sorted. Right there. Let's put a little bit more in just in case, but I think we're on the mark. There we go. Now I'm just going to quickly put the battery. I'm not going to put it in properly. I'm not even going to put the airbox in properly. I'm going to connect the map sensor though, but I'm just going to quickly shove it in, start it, make sure it goes through all the gears first. Make sure it does everything it's supposed to do, otherwise we'll be stripping this again. Right, I can actually put the airbox on properly because it just literally pushes in. And it's not going to be a big deal to take it back out. So I'm going to put that on properly. Just push it in. Put that on. I'll worry about that clip later. Put the sensor on, push that little clip down. Now, the actual battery. I might even have to put that in properly too. I'm going to put this on properly and hopefully I won't regret it. I can't rest the battery anywhere. It's just, it's easy when this is out for bleeding of the clutch. Just so I have the clutch bled properly, because I might not have it bled properly. Actually, I should be able to do it now. So let's shove this back in just for the minute. Just roughly, just like that. And like that. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to do a dry run to make sure it goes through all the gears. I'm going to start it, put my foot on the clutch, and then make sure it goes through all the gears. If it does that, we're okay. Then I can put this kind of in properly and we can take it for a drive. So, yes, fingers crossed, nothing goes bang. Just test the clutch again. Clutch feels good. Make sure the gear linkage cables are on properly. Goes through the gears. Now start it. Hope I don't have to bleed this again. It starts, which is obviously a good thing. Put it down, goes in gear, it releases, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, and most importantly reverse, and there we go. Yes, so we are good. What I'm going to do is bolt that down properly. There's 3 bolts, no point me showing you. Put the battery on properly, take it up and down the road for a spin. If there's any more added on this video, you know there's a problem. Hopefully there isn't, but anyway, I'm going to call it at that. unless there's a problem. So that's how to put on or take off, put on a new clutch and refit the gearbox. So it's kind of going to be 3 parts for everything on a 2008 Ford Transit Connect. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget, check out our shop, our forum and all that. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. We'll see you for the next one.